What's up, people? Welcome back. Today we're going to be going over a Spec commercial that I DP'd a few weeks ago with director Daeil Kim. Talked about him plenty of times before. Director of Blue Diamond. I just had a feature come out called White Demise. He is the owner of a production company called Xylograph Films, and he hit me up to do a spec for this Father's Day commercial for the church that he goes to, as well as a spec for Lego. And yes, Lego. I thought that was a pretty interesting idea, and honestly, I don't think many people have done a Lego commercial. But before we dive into today's video, just want to say that I'm sorry I've been kind of patchy here and there with the uploads. Got a lot of things going on, and to mention one, this might be my last time recording in this space. A major life change is happening for me, and that's part of the reason I've kind of been absent. So definitely stay tuned for the next video, because it might not be next week, but something new is going to be happening and this is going to be changed. So I'm really excited, and yeah, thank you again for just being a part of this community. It means a lot. So to give you a quick background on the equipment that we used for this project, it was the Blackmagic 6kPro. And we also paired that with the DZO Vespid Prime, the 25mm. This was my first time using this lens, and definitely very happy with the results. It's a lot softer than the Sigmas. It has a little bit more character, but it is still very neutral. So in terms of lighting, we definitely stuck with the equipment that we are very familiar with, and that is Nanlite. We had a Nanlite Mixpanel 150, two Nanlite Pavo tubes, a mini Nanlite Pavo tube, and we also had a Nanlite Forza 500. Alright, so for the first scene here, it's just a simple tilt up, revealing this girl playing with a bunch of Legos, building this one piece in particular. Coming up, you just pop to a close-up, and you just do a couple more close-ups here or there. And this is a pretty cool angle. I was kind of curious to play with a little bit of a Dutch angle at this spot. We'll dive a little bit more into the lighting of this particular scene in a little bit. Okay, some more handheld work. Nice flare right there. And drop down. So this scene in particular, real quick, is really cool because this girl was actually the one that came up with this idea of falling down and having the camera follow. She's extremely intelligent in terms of filmmaking and stuff. She's very into it. So having her come up with this idea was pretty awesome, and Daeil and I both agreed that it would be a great shot to have, so we did it and executed it, and it was pretty awesome. Cut to some outdoor stuff. Can't go wrong with some classic feet through some high grass. It's just, with the jeans, it's gorgeous. You know what's funny? This is probably the 10th time that my allergies have kicked in as I'm recording a video. Like, before I hit record, I was pretty good, and now it's just getting progressively worse. So, bear with me. So we were outdoor, classic feet shot with the tall grass. Show the family going to some swing set. Back to this scene. All right. Okay, for this scene, this was actually pretty interesting. It's just the mom kind of waiting outside for the dad to pull into the driveway to kind of signal to the daughter that he's here. This was just a simple reveal as the girl comes in. Pan, show the car. Cut to him walking up. This was all naturally lit. This right here was lit by one key light. We'll go over that in a little bit. Okay, as we come inside, crouches down, he sees a Lego. I wonder what that could be. Okay, he sees it. He's thinking about it. What could this be? All right, a little path. Some Lego trails, simple tilt up. Show him walking, follow, and bam, emotional moment. Daughter is there with the gift for Father's Day. Beautiful. I love it. Cut to the close-up, show the toy. All right, cut to the reversal, have the dad walk in. The girl gives him the Father's Day gift. Beautiful love, hug. Just emotional beauty at this moment in the story. And a couple more cuts. Cut to some more outside. There's more of a montage scene here, just happy moments. And cut to a dinner scene of the whole family. Some more outdoor stuff. And cut to a new scene. This is the ender, which is the kind of theme of this whole video, is the Legos, how they're a almost annual gift, or a consistent gift that the daughter gives. And you can tell from the left to the right, they keep getting better as she gets older. So you'll notice here on the left, this is the first one. Even though I personally think it's the cutest, this was when she was the youngest. next stage, following age after that. Cut some more outdoor stuff, delay the emotional impact of this toy being placed, and that is the oldest. Cut to the picture frame of his father. Emotional moment here, and thank you, fathers. So we're going to dive right into this first scene right here, and again, it's a simple tilt-up revealing the girl playing with Legos. First thing I want to mention here is the harsh light coming from this window over here. A few things I want to note is that I chose not to show the window because the light source would be directly in frame, and I don't want to show the lamp there. So we chose to keep it out of frame, just a little bit above the actual letterboxes there. And one thing you'll notice is that the window frame itself creates these really cool lines right here. And the other thing I want to mention, which was really important and kind of off the wing, was if you take a look at this particular scene, you'll notice that there's movement inside of the light beams that you'll see there. Just take a look. See some of that movement from shadow to light. So before that, it was just a very still light, and I saw it, I was like, it's missing something. So what I did was I had my gaffer, his name is Aaron, grab a big branch off of a tree outside and just kind of like hold it in front of the light and shake it a little bit. And what that does is to create a little bit of movement inside of that light like it's behind a tree. So I was really happy with the way that turned out. I created a little bit of movement. And talking about the key light here, I had two, because if you cut to the next scene here, you'll see that there's another room, and that's where the light is being motivated from because there's a bunch of windows there. So the first light that I had was a Nanlite mixed panel 150, I believe, and that was set to 5600 Kelvin with the softbox, just keying the front of her right about here. So she was being keyed just here. And the next light that I had was a Nanlite Pavo tube, also set to 5600 Kelvin, and that was also set a little bit more to the side of her just to emphasize a little bit more of a rim light right over here. The last thing that I want to mention is if you look here in the top right corner, it's a little bit warmer of a color tone, and I just had a lamp there just bouncing off the wall just to create a little bit of color in that area and just to emphasize that there might be a lamp in that direction. Alright, so diving into the next scene, we pop right to the close-up here to show she's just working some handheld movement here. The first thing that I want to mention is I tend to shoot a lot on the shadow side of the subject, and what I mean by that, let's hop into Photoshop real quick. So the shadow side would be anywhere around here, this area. The reason why it's the shadow side is because here, this window and this room right here, this is where we are getting a lot of sunlight right here because of the window. So that is the opposite key or far side key lighting. So let's go back. And the one thing I want to mention is before I had the Nanlite tube pretty much right here, and I also had the mixed panel pretty much right here, shining a little bit more of a fill and a little bit more of a rim light on this side. But now that I moved to the close-up and I'm a little bit more on the profile, I moved everything over just a little bit so it's a little bit more frontal on her face. As you can see, there's a little bit more fill now. Now let's go back to the first shot, and you'll notice that on the left side of her face there's a little bit more shadow. Coming to the close-up, it fills in a tiny bit, but it doesn't do it too much where it looks like it's two completely different lighting setups. So the first thing that I want to just say is when you move to that close-up on the profile side, moving the light over so it's a little bit more frontal will allow you to get a little bit more exposure in the person's face, unless you're going for a very strict contrast ratio. The other thing is if you have the lights set to their profile on the wide, moving to that profile, you will probably see a bunch of lamps unless they're rigged up high. All right, so let's take a quick look here. This is just a close-up of her kind of looking at the toy and the Lego that she created with a nice lens flare. So you could tell that it might look like the sun. It's actually obviously a light because we mentioned that before, but you don't see any actual lamp structure or anything to tell that it is to take you out of the story. There's enough shallow depth of field in this shot where the focus is so tight that you really can't tell what it is in the background. But going off of that, creating some flares in that moment, just emphasize and heighten that happy reality. But when you backlight someone, their front side starts to become darker because you want to balance it and expose it properly. So what we did here again is just move that key light that was more frontal a little bit more to the side again, and I pushed it in a lot closer. All right, so the first thing is the backlight, and that is coming from here, which is the sun. The next thing I want to notice is just the kind of negative fill on the shadow side over here, just creating a very soft kind of shadow on that right side of her. The other thing is just instead of having the light be pretty much right here and very frontal facing her, we moved it over again back to where the intro shot was to be a little bit more sidey, and then punch in. But we also moved it a lot closer. So for the intro shot that it was wide, we couldn't put the light very close because the C-stand would get in the way. But now that we were punched in for that close-up, we had plenty of room to kind of bring that light in closer. I moved the pavo tube more to the side just to create this little like rim light that you see on this side right here. It's very subtle, but it just adds a little bit of a more shape to her face right there. So real quick, we're going to go over this scene, and the first thing that I want to mention is just production design in general. Before the final shot, which is this table and lamp weren't there. It was just an empty window. And collaboratively, as a team, we decided to put a table there as well as a lamp just to create a little bit more interest in the frame and make it look like it's an actual living space that these people are in. So moving, she sees the father with a nice smile. She signals to the child, comes running in, pan, boom. All right. So now that we got the camera movement down, just a simple pan and a slight tilt. Jump into Photoshop real quick. And first thing I want to mention is that there was a Nanlite mix panel 150 inside this room, probably right here, and it was just bouncing off the ceiling to create a little bit more ambient light in the room. And the reason why I added ambient light in the room is because I wanted to expose properly for the highlights outside. Next thing I want to mention is the key light. Now, for majority of the takes, I had just natural window light and add a light outside just to help key her a little bit more, which you'll see right here. You'll see a nice little edge on her face and her neck, and that is the Nanlite Forza 500 with a lantern attachment, and that is just outside of this window right here, punching in to her face. This helps with exposure and as well as balance and creating a little bit more shape so her face isn't as flat. So this is the last scene we're going to be going over today, and it's the father walking inside, sees the Lego piece, and he is curious. So the first thing that I want to mention is just this wall and the staircase here. Now, this isn't a natural looking wall and staircase. It's not natural. I actually added a light there, but for me, I find that this looks fairly natural. And what I did was I put a Nanlite mix panel at the top of the stairs, and I shined that down just with a softbox, so it was a very soft ambient light just coming down to create a little bit of exposure and a little bit of shape. Otherwise, that light and the wall would have been very dark and in the shadows, and I wanted to keep a little bit more of an upbeat tone to it. So that just helped create a little bit more ambient light in the background and a little bit more space in between the subject and the background. Next thing you'll notice is his face here. I had negative fill here, just very close, creating a little bit of shadow on the right side of his face. One thing you'll notice also is just this little rim light, and that is just due to the window in the door that he's walking out of. There's just a little tiny slit, and that is creating a little bit of a nice rim light, and that's just one of those happy accidents that happen, and I love the way that looks there, that little rim light. So for the key light, I had a Nanlite pavo tube up high pretty much at the ceiling. I had a 3200 Kelvin, and that was pretty much just keying him on the left side of his face. And Nanlite pavo tubes are generally very soft to begin with, so this created a nice looking soft light on his face, and it wasn't very harsh. Alright, so that's it for today's video. Hopefully you guys found benefit in what you saw today. Thank you as always for sticking with me and building this community. We're almost at 3,000 subs now, and I feel kind of bad because now I'm starting to slack a tiny bit, but I appreciate everyone's support still, and I'm not slacking. I'm just trying to balance a lot of things. So thank you guys as always. I really appreciate everything, and go check me out on Instagram at Carlos Stiggs. Hit the subscribe button below, like, comment, let me know what you guys think. And again, next time you see me, I will be in a different place. So until next time, I will see you later.